What's going on, everybody? My name is Michael Weir, and today we are talking about a brand new horror movie that dropped on the Peacock streaming service called Sick. Now, Sick is a movie that centers around the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. And I'll be honest, when I first heard about this movie, I was out. I didn't want anything to do with it. I was like, no, I don't want to watch a movie about COVID or the pandemic. But then reading the synopsis of this movie, finding out that it's actually about people that are trying to quarantine while a serial killer is trying to murder them, I don't know. That appealed to me. So I was like, okay, I'll give this a chance. So with very low expectations, I was pleasantly surprised. Let's do the review.
Oh my God! Just one moment.
Unlock the door! Unlock the door!
You have a mask, don't you? You're masked.
What?
I can't let you in. It's not safe.
Are you kidding me, lady? Please!
And so, guys, the movie Sick is directed by John Hyam, and it's about two girls at the very beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, like the very beginning, April of 2020, when they were telling us all 2 weeks to slow the spread. And so the movie follows these two girls, Parker and Mary, who leave their college campus to go to one of the girls' father's cabins so they can be secluded for 2 weeks, wait out this COVID-19 thing that'll eventually go away. But with that said, the two girls go to the cabin, and when they get there, they start having a relaxing time, posting on Instagram about being at the lake, and that's when a serial killer starts texting them, harassing them, and eventually trying to murder them. Now, I know I'm giving you a very basic plot line here, but I don't want to give you much more because I feel like if I do give you much more, I will start to spoil things, and I don't feel like this is a movie that should be spoiled at all. You should go in knowing very little and just enjoy the movie. So with that said, let's get into my likes and my dislikes before I spoil something. Getting into my likes, the first thing I really like about this movie is the runtime and pace. Now, the runtime for this movie is about 1 hour and 23 minutes, and that's perfect for a slasher movie, and honestly, as I get older, that's better for me in general. I don't know, when Endgame came out, I was hyped that it was 3 hours long, and then like every action movie and every movie had to be 3 hours, 2 hours, 45 minutes, 3 hours, 15 minutes. It was like, could we please get back to like 1 hour and a half, hour 45? And this movie at 1 hour 20 has a perfect pace to it, and I really appreciate that. Like any slasher movie, it's going to open with a murder, and of course this one does, and then you have to build, and then the very end, there has to be a lot of slashing and slicing and dicing. You get the idea. The point is, this movie doesn't waste any time in that runtime. Hour 20, perfect runtime, and the pace is perfect for a slasher movie. It kept me invested the entire time. And my other like for this movie is I really like how they tied the movie together. I feel like with any slasher movie, you have two ends of a spectrum. You have the Scream end, where you can say, oh, well, this was your best friend and they wanted to kill you and they've been stalking you for a long time, or it's a revenge tale, right? But on the other end of the spectrum, you got movies like The Strangers, and they're like, we just did it because you were home. And so, like, there's no motivation, but it's still, that's kind of more terrifying than, like, your best friend. But sometimes your best friend doing it is more terrifying because you trusted them. So I like both ends of that slasher aspect. And this movie does a great job kind of bringing that together and explaining why the killer is trying to do what the killer is trying to do. Again, I appreciate that in a movie like this, because if they just went with the, well, you were home, I was bored during the pandemic, I guess that would have worked. But the reasoning they gave for this killer made you, the viewer, sort of understand. You were kind of like, all right, I kind of get why you're doing this. But at the same time, they're the killer in the movie, so you're like, I'm still rooting for the people in the cabin. On the dislike side, there's only one scene that really didn't work for me in this entire movie, and it's like smack dab in the middle. So they get to this cabin, and one of the two of them is very, hey, 6 feet, wear a mask no matter what. You've got to make sure you're wearing a mask. And then at one point, this girl's like, I'm just going to get high and dance and kind of forget about all this, which is fine. But then that character goes back to being like, wait, COVID-19 is there, so we got to be real careful. Like, that scene doesn't fit. I don't know why they did it. Like, they do this scene that if you took that scene out of the movie, it'd be the same movie and it would be fine. Like, a couple minutes shorter. I'm not mad at that either. But it's just one of those scenes I don't understand why it exists, because it totally changed that character for a minute. Maybe to try to make it relatable to the audience, you are like, oh, well, she's not a total dick. Like, she's having a fun time. But at the same time, on my end, I'm like, no, wait, you've been preaching at us for the last 30 minutes about COVID and wearing your mask and 6 feet and air particles in the air for 8 feet. Like, now you're just going to go get high and dance unmasked. Like, it's just weird. But then the movie goes right back to her being the way she was before that scene. And it it doesn't work for me. So that scene individually does not work for me. And I feel like if you took that scene out, you wouldn't have a different movie, but you'd have a more cohesive character. Overall, guys, I'll say the thing that surprised me the most about this movie was not being so preachy that it annoyed me. Yes, one character was preachy about COVID-19, but that played into the plot of the movie, and at the very end of the movie, it made it very interesting that that character was like that, along with everyone else in the movie. Like, they towed the line of COVID, I think, perfectly without crossing the line on either side, whereas one side would be upset that, oh, well, you're talking about COVID too much, and the other side's going to be upset that you didn't take it seriously enough in your movie. So I think there's a nice line in there, and they rode that really well. So for me, Sick is one of the better movies I've seen this January. Guys, that's my review for Sick. If you liked this review, don't forget to hit the like button and the share button so your friends can see it. If you've seen Sick and you've got thoughts and you've got comments, put those in the comment section down below so we can talk about it. And I tell you what, in my last video, I've had more comments than I've ever had before, and that's fantastic. Whether they were nice comments, mean comments, rude comments, or just people telling me, hey, I liked your video, I appreciated all of those comments, and I liked going back and forth with everyone. So if you have comments on Sick, I will respond to you. Put those in the comment section down below. And finally, guys, if you're one of the brand new subscribers that joined in the last week because you saw my Skinamarink talk and you wanted to join my channel, well, first of all, thank you for subscribing. It means the world to me. Secondly, if you're not subscribed yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can see all my content. I have a ton of it coming your way, including an end of January wrap-up of everything I've seen. So I promise you it's going to be a fun time. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Imagine shooting a man with your last bullet, and he stands there, unfazed,